Last time we left off building the e-commerce portion of this landing page here. As you can see the progress so far, we made quite a bit of it. We're almost done, but I wanted to add a solution for our buy button here, which would entail either adding something like Shopify or a WordPress plugin or some sort of third-party merchant to deal with that. I did some research offline and ended up deciding to go with the simple Stripe plugin for now. This plugin, here it is, it's called WP Stripe Checkout. Essentially, it just makes it easier to connect to Stripe without reinventing the wheel. You can do this all without using a plugin, but I went ahead and used it. The only issue I'm running into right now is, unfortunately for this, I want to display a quantity field when you do purchase. So to do that, I would have to create something custom out of Stripe. I think that's beyond the scope of this video at this point, so I'll probably have to go back and add the extended e-commerce portion of it. That might completely entail not going with Stripe altogether, or just adding a new plugin for WordPress. I'm not against adding a plugin for something like this because sometimes it just makes life easier. But in this case, it's not solving our problem completely with the quantity because we want people to be able to buy more than one box of these. I'm going to go ahead and consider this solved for now. I'll walk you through what I did. I kind of did some research inside of code first to make sure this will work for us, and so far so good. So with this section coded and styled, so we can go ahead and integrate a Stripe button. With this plugin, I'll go to the settings portion. Let me go through this real quick. So you can add a shortcode in your theme or page, depending on how you want to, that returns all these parameters. Many of them are required, some are not. You can read the checkout plugin on Stripe's page for more. This is the actual plugin authors page, so let's go to Stripe. And what it's basically connecting to is under payments, it's called checkout, Stripe checkout. Here it is. So under documentation, it'll tell us what to do here. The plugin basically ties into all these data types. So through the shortcode, you can add this content to your theme. Doing that, rather than on a page, you can actually use a WordPress include that's called WP, or not WP, it's Echo Do shortcode, which I actually have here commented out for now. I didn't want you guys to have to watch me painfully figure this out. So the shortcode essentially takes what the author has built on the plugin, which is this section here, and echoes it onto our theme where we want it. The only problem I've run into is that this generates an entire form for the Stripe checkout, which also means there's a new button in the picture. So because of that, we have to style our button with CSS instead of including it on the page like we have down here. So you'll watch me do that in a second. But right now, if I save this, our theme should update with this buy Stripe button. If you are familiar with the look and feel of those, we'll customize that in a second, but I'll show you when you click, you get this overlaid form. Right now we're in test mode because I have that set up in the actual Stripe account. You'll need a Stripe account to make this. And then in your plugin settings, you can enter some test credentials and the secret keys. I don't have anything live right now, so just use your own test ones based on your account if you're following along or using it on your own type of theme. Essentially, you'd create an email, and since this is just a test thing, you can enter in whatever. I don't know, 6304 or something like that. A test card number is this. You can find that in the documentation, which is actually, I believe, on the last page we were at. This number here. You can enter in any 3-digit CVC code, any date, and a billing zip, whatever you want to call it. And we'll do like 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll just do 3 digits there. You can choose Remember Me. The price is actually different in our code, so we probably want to update that to what we have on the design. I won't save that file because this might refresh, but essentially you pay and it should go green and just kind of redirect to this page. You can actually have the plugin redirect to another page if you want like a success page, which I'll probably create. It'll probably be something simple just to say thanks or something like that. But as you saw, there was no field to create a quantity when you did purchase, so I'll have to probably go back and troubleshoot, or at least provide a workaround to do that. This video essentially is just showing you how to integrate something into your own purposed theme. So the problem we face at this point is getting this button to look like this button. I can target this individual stripe button. Let me zoom in here. Oops. Inside our form, which is actually a button type submit. So it's got a class of stripe button EL. So I'm going to go back into I'm going to save this file and then go back into our buy SAS file. And we have our buy button down here. I'm going to put this just above it for now. And I think it's already aligned the way we want it to, so we can actually start targeting this button using our button class. A neat way to do that is, I think we can do a button and include, or it's extend, my bad. Extending in SAS essentially means you're basically copying and pasting a SAS style into one element from another. This should be secondary. And I use it sparingly because it can create a ton of code you don't really need to use all the time. The last video we have our button a bit larger than the rest on our page, so I'm going to go ahead and grab those styles. And this actually needs to be, no, it's on its own. So we'll do that. Let's see if that works. Oh, I'm trying to resubmit a form. I don't want to do that. Okay, so that didn't do anything. Why not? So it needs to be inside of here. So let's try adding it inside here. Let's double check our CSS. Yeah, it's working. Huh, okay. Can we target this? Or do we have to go all hacky? Okay, doesn't show that it's working. Let's just do, let's comment these out for a second and double check, like, just make sure this works. Extend, it's still doing that. Relaunch our gulp server. Okay, so yeah, that is weird. Why is the blue still there? Oh, okay, so it's the span. Cool, okay, so we need to target the span within that too. And just give it a background. None. See if that works. It does. So I'll bypass our button styles for now. Do loose, what was it called? Secondary color. So we got that. We need to lose that little, there's a little white trail at the very top. I think it's a box shadow or text shadow. We'll lose that too. And the box shadow. So let's do box shadow, none, text shadow, none. The span needs size of something larger. So let's do, that's gonna be huge, I know it, yeah. 1M, so font family is our body, I think we called it. Yep, and color is secondary font color. Okay, we're getting there. I like the border radius, so we'll keep that. At this point, unfortunately, we have to add our dude here as a background image. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and basically lose this stuff. We can even delete our custom fields because this will just have to be updated manually. Okay, so the button works. Cool. One thing I forgot to mention is inside the shortcode itself, you can have all these parameters. So on ours, we set these custom based on what we're selling. So the name corresponds to the H2O drink up here. Item name is the data that will be sent back in your Stripe account. The description will display right here, and the amount will display on the next page as the button. It'll say pay $7.95. Currency needs to be supplied when you enter an amount, so ours is USD in this case. Label, not 100% sure where that lies, but it's somewhere in there. Billing address, let's make sure you supply a billing address and a shipping address, and you can do a zip code verification for the credit card as well, which is just another security feature set in place. On top of that, you can include a custom image, which displays at the top here. Right now I have it linked from our local host. I'll have to remember to update that on our production site. Not a huge deal to do. It's just, it would be cool if I could echo some custom field back, but it's not a big deal. And that's essentially that. So at this point, I'm gonna go into our CSS and add our icon dude into our button. We might need to add it as like a span somewhere. So I'm gonna get rid of this for now. Indent these a bit. And then let's grab, I don't have that file in my actual images, so I'll need to add it from our assets folder. So we'll do background URL. The problem with doing it this way is you can't really animate colors or anything, but I don't think I intend to. So it's not a huge deal. In your case, you might run into that hiccup and be presented with that problem. I'm not sure what to tell you. You'll have to find some sort of workaround or actually go through and create your own custom Stripe button instead of the plugin. I am not doing that. I'd honestly prefer to, but for the sake of time and honestly stress and stuff, I don't feel like doing that. So we're gonna go ahead and bypass that step for now. Okay, and we need to make sure this is actually on some sort of element in here. So thinking we can wrap this in a div. Let's give it an ID to target it directly. We're going to use a pseudo property on the before element to put this as the background. Content will be nothing. The width, I think what we called it was 28. Height is 28. This needs to be positioned relative. Ooh. This be absolute. And it's not showing, so we'll have to figure out why not. Let's see a before, because you called it a class. It is an ID. Okay. So it works. It's not awesome. I think it should make do. We'll add a bit of padding. I'm going to decrease this and do something like that. Maybe 30. We'll go back to 40. Oh. Okay, and then this needs to come left a touch more, like. So then we still need to add our hover, give it a bit of interactivity. So on hover, I like to do in focus too. Background, secondary color, hover, I think. I don't think that's it. Secondary hover color. See if that works. No, it does not. Do I have to do this again? Possibly. Yeah, that works. Do I really need important? Let's see if I do. I don't. Awesome. Okay. I hate using those. Don't do it if you don't have to. You shouldn't have to if you code right. So the whole button itself needs to come down a tad. So I'm going to add just a touch of margin. I'll just do margin top. Like 5 pixels, nothing much. 4 pixels. So since we did that, okay, actually, let's not do it on this. We'll do it on the button itself. Cool. That's what was off. Okay. So I'm getting console errors. That is mixed content warnings. Stripe needs to be served to an HTTPS server. Make sure that you have a security certificate installed on yours. Otherwise, you're just risking a lot of data being compromised. It's also giving me this localhost error. I don't really know why it's a bad request. I think it needs to be live is the problem, but it's funny because the image shows up. So I went ahead, I should have shown you, I created just a thumbnail behind the scenes. The size that Stripe Recommends is 128 by 128. If you include that, it's a good size rule of thumb to follow. So that essentially is how we're going to solve our e-commerce platform. When a payment is sent, it's sent via, I think, combination of Ajax and other stuff to both your server and Stripe. So it ends up in your checkout dashboard. Be careful when you're in test mode to turn that off if you need to. I think you just click test mode. You can use all these different types of payment and even debug if you have invalid use cases. Since the plugin pretty much handles a lot of the stuff for us, we don't have to deal with a lot of that manual updating of like our secret keys and payment keys and all that stuff. It's all within your account, so it should be pretty straightforward. Next up, we will finish our footer, and then we'll start working on responsive styles.